merchant Ivory coined the word Shakespearewala. It was to describe an Englishman who'd come to India to popularize the bard. Now, my guest, of course, is Indian, but he's done as much, if not more, to popularize Shakespeare, and he's won recognition and awards to boot. He's India's up-and-coming theatre director. His name is Roysten Abel. Welcome to the program, Roysten.
Hi.
Now, virtually everything that you've directed has been connected to Shakespeare one way or another. Is that love, or is that just a little bit of obsession as well?
I just enjoy doing Shakespeare. I think primarily I started doing him because I was kind of enjoying him. But then once I started looking back, I guess it was also because I had a great teacher in school who taught me wonderful Shakespeare. And then I guess part of it is also because of this colonial hangover which most of us have. And over the years, but when one has started to look into it much more deeper, one feels that one can say more things by using it.
But tell me something, seriously, why Shakespeare? Why not, for instance, Chaucer or Molière or even Kalidas? Why Shakespeare?
Because, I think Shakespeare is like a whole meal. The moment you do Shakespeare, he's got everything in his place. He's got adventure, he's got action, he's got music, he's got singing, and he's a real potboiler, and so he is like a full dramatist. He's got all the elements of drama. And added to that, he has all this hidden genius within all his texts that it just allows you to explore into so many various other things, which, you discover and then you realize, and which is like a great joy.
So to coin a phrase, Shakespeare reaches parts other playwrights don't reach.
Absolutely,
But, in a sense, that's obviously very true of a director. What about the audience? We don't have a Shakespeare tradition in India as they do in England, and most Indians are probably intimidated by the name. So how do audiences respond to the idea of going to see a Shakespeare play?
I think we have various other perceptions of how Shakespeare has to be played and stuff like that. So normally people would expect spectacles, Going to see a Shakespeare would be spectacle, it would be high-flowing, oratory language and, stuff like that, which might, spectacles you can watch for 5 minutes and after that you get bored. But with language, and unless you actually make a breakthrough, unless there is some actual communication happening, nothing really works. So the whole idea is to actually make him very accessible and thereby grounding him into our own reality.
Is this why you've adapted the Shakespeare you've taken on, you've experimented with it? You don't really do it straight.
Yeah, I think it's because it helps to actually connect much better, because you have a context which you and I actually know, and unlike the Elizabethan context, then we relate to it much more directly. You're cued into the play from line one.
So you're Indianizing it and modernizing it at the same time?
I'm just contextualizing it, in whichever context we are in.
Are you also finding particular messages that relate to the audience of today and plucking those out and giving them greater emphasis?
More than giving them a message, my plays are like a reaction. So if something affects me, I react with the play. And hence that reaction actually gets to the audience.
Okay, let's talk a little about perhaps what many consider your greatest play up till now, Othello, a play in black and white. You not only directed it, you conceived of it as well. Where did the idea come from?
My wife's Assamese, and she used to work at the National Repertory Company. And there was this very prestigious director who had come to the Repertory Company to direct a play, and he didn't cast her. And that was fine. But he came up to me and said that, I haven't cast your wife. I said, that's absolutely okay. But he said, I didn't cast her because, she didn't have a typical Indian face. And she's Assamese, and she says, and these characters are Indian royalty, so it's impossible.
So the hidden text of Assamese can't be Indian royalty
at all, you see. And so I said, wow, so that was like fantastic. It calls for a play, and how, even if us artists, we start having these racial prejudices, what is going to be the end? And so I said, and, like each time, I go back to Shakespeare. And hence I said, let's do Othello, which deals about racism. And I needed a form to actually talk about, the things I wanted to say in a much more stronger fashion. And hence I formed a narrative where I could actually use Othello and the current life and mix it together.
And hence, in fact, that very clever twist in the play, because the actor who plays Othello is, in fact, Assamese Adil Hussain, And one of the themes is the resentment he has to face, the discrimination he has to face, because the rest of the cast don't accept him to begin with.
That happens all the time, you know. I mean, we have various kinds of hierarchies, and in all kinds of places, and we have hierarchies within theatre as well. So that is my immediate reality, and hence I chose to talk about that immediate reality. But you know, it's just a different situation. But the happenings are the same wherever you go.
In fact, the happenings are ones that actually reach out to Indian audiences. There is a real message you're sending to Indian audiences by portraying Othello through Adil.
Yes, but you know, just to cast a non-English speaking actor in an English speaking theatre group to do a Shakespeare, which is in English and which was supposed to be so very authentic. They actually get an Italian director who's trained in England to actually do this English play, which is set in Italy, you know, which talks
Another
about
of the
all this
complexities
authenticity.
of this play,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
I mean, you have an Italian director who directs a Shakespeare play, and the central character often speaks in Hindi.
Yeah, and
Now,
Assamese.
And Assamese. How did audiences respond to that? I mean, did Indian audiences think this was acceptable, or did they look askance at it and wonder whether this was you playing around with Shakespeare?
You know, that was the best part of the play, especially doing it in India. So the moment we actually started the play and Adil spoke in Hindi, the audience would crack up. And they actually thought that, you know, I was actually doing a comedy or something on this, you know, a thing on this actor.
They couldn't accept Shakespeare in Hindi.
Yeah, they couldn't think of a Shakespeare play happening and then this Indian actor actually speaking in Hindi at that point.
Now, you took the same play with the same cast to the Edinburgh Festival. How did they respond there in the West to an Assamese playing Shakespeare, sometimes in Assamese itself?
For them, you know, they kind of understood the larger context of the issue. Over here in India, basically the audience was a part of the play. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they would laugh and then they would get caught unawares, you know, and says, hey, we are a part of this.
They got tripped up. Their own emotions gave them away.
Yeah. And whereas in the West, you know, they're much more aware of the situation. So it helps on to that. And especially in Edinburgh, the good thing is that it is essentially a theatre audience. And hence they also have a good understanding of the text. And they also know if this play is done differently, how is it different? And so the appreciation is in a different way altogether as well.
So in the West, they accepted Shakespeare in Assamese, and they saw it as proper dramatic license. In India, the personal prejudices of the audience came in the way.
It contributes to the play again, because here am I, you know, in the audience laughing at Adil, and after 10 minutes I realize that, hey, what am I laughing at?
I'm laughing at myself.
Myself, you know, and that's beautiful, because that is a live interaction between the actor and the audience.
You also had the audience as a result squirming.
Yeah, I mean, and because some people don't like it at all, because they know that, and after a point it becomes like a slap, you know, and not many people like to get that.
Now, in 1999, you did a play that many look upon as a sort of sequel to Othello, but in fact it's much more than that, Goodbye Desdemona. There, you have the audience involved in a very intimate, loving relationship between two men on stage, who even try and do a sort of male Romeo and Juliet. How did Indian audiences respond to what's very clearly a suggestion of a gay relationship? Did they squirm again?
I think so, you know, because I mean, I would hear comments within the audience, you know, like that scene was a bit uncomfortable, wasn't it? And you know, oh, do they have to do it, you know, like this? In spite of it being, I think if all things which are said in the play or done in the play are very aesthetic, and it's done it with so much of sensitivity, you know, because it's been conceived.
But sometimes done that way, it can be more disturbing.
Yeah, but so and that's a reality which many of us are not willing to confront.
Does the audience rise and give the impact that you're looking for, or do they tend to defend themselves and shy away from a lot of the messages and realities of the play?
Many of them, I mean, most of us do shy away from the hard realities of life, you know, in life itself. And so also in theatre, they actually, they shy away if they get where it really has to get them. But most often it also so happens that, you know, all these things happen and it just doesn't touch anybody anywhere, and, you know, it's just another play, it's another evening, and they all go back
So when
home.
that happens, when an audience just walks away as if it's another play, as if it's another moment of entertainment, does it dishearten and depress you?
It doesn't, because number one, we do not have anything called a theatre appreciation in our country, You also need to be a rasik, you also need to know how to view things. If you want to enjoy a film in a much full way, then you also need to appreciate and know to appreciate it. Many people we don't have that culture of appreciation within our country.
So when you do this, who are you actually doing it for? The audience? Or is the real sense of satisfaction one that you feel in here?
Absolutely, it's just here, when we do it and when we are creating it together and when we are involving it together, we go through a very creative high. And that creative high is what one actually looks out for all the time, rather than even getting the show onto the stage and, waiting
You
for
use
the
the
curtain
word
call.
we a lot. Do you work with the same team? Do you have your own, in a sense, school of actors?
No, I mean, Barry and Adil have worked with me the most, Barry John and Adil Hussain. But then, when I'm doing a play, it's always an ensemble activity. And even the text is created on the floor. So it's like a very cohesive ensemble kind of...
When you say the text is created on the floor, is the play actually put together through practical experience and it actually evolves day by day as the rehearsals go on?
Absolutely. So when we go onto the stage with an idea, we know what portions of the text we might use. We have this option to use it or not to use it. Get onto the floor, take in our experiences, get into the situation, and then see what actually happens on the floor.
Now, you took, of course, Othello to England. It was at the Edinburgh Festival, and it won the Scotsman First Fringe Award. Did that surprise you?
Not really, because we kind of expected it there. This sounds very pompous and everything, but to be very honest, I was quite sure that we had something very special when we did Othello. And even the reactions here and the reactions there, even before the critics and the judges came in to watch the play, you could see that things were doing very well.
Well, it was certainly a great moment. Royston, we've talked at the moment about the journey that's brought you up to here. Let's go back in part two and talk a little bit about you, and try and find out something of the man behind the theatre director. We'll be back in just a couple of moments. Make sure you're with us too. Welcome back. My guest is theatre director Roysten Abel. Let's talk about you personally. You were born and initially educated in Kuwait. What was your family doing there?
My dad was into some business called ship channeling or something. It had to do with something with the shipping business, which I don't know till date. And so my mother and my sister, we were all there in Kuwait till I was 7. I did a part of my schooling there and I came back to India.
What sort of memories do you have of Kuwait?
I don't know, it was all fun, just growing up, going to school, learning Arabic. I knew I was pretty good at Arabic. I got 100 out of 100 in Arabic once. And
do you remember it still?
No, not really. And, we were afternoons in the school buses collecting ladybirds and stuff like that.
Now, when you came back to India, you first went to school in Ooty and then Bangalore. You got mixed up with people who smoked hash and marijuana at the time. Did you get badly caught?
No, see, Ooty was very strict, and Ooty was, very, you had to follow things in a very definite way, public school, all that stuff. And from there, you go to Bangalore, and you're in a hostel where you can, you can do anything. And Bangalore is like a city of the youth, where everything is happening and stuff like that. The right set of friends from Ooty, Kerala, and all that stuff, and everything is available in Bangalore. So you just kind of, you're just trying to break free, and then you just get into all this stuff, and you have a good time. It was basically a good time. It was not because I was depressed that my parents didn't love me or stuff like that, but it was
nothing existentialist about
no,
it.
Nothing.
You were just letting your hair down.
Yeah, just having a great time.
And did your parents ever find out?
Yeah, I guess they got to know about it because some guy went and sneaked back at home saying that something's wrong with him, and then they had to pull me off from Bangalore, and then I had to do the rest of it. And
where did they send you? What did they say?
They said, just come back home, we'll take care of you.
And where was home?
Home was in Kerala, in Palghat.
And then discipline was imposed?
No, that was okay. Then I had to do my studies, and then I had to look after a bit of the family business and stuff like that. And so that was kind of okay.
So okay, when did the theatrical ambition start? What actually made you say to yourself, my life is going to be in theatre?
You know, there was this time when I was into this business and it was like pretty monotonous, and I just knew that I didn't want to do this all my life. And
Ship channeling?
No, this was, in Kerala we had something else called, we were C&F agents for a lot of consumer durables and stuff like that. You know, it was this wholesale business. And and I was like getting pretty tired of this, and I was going through a magazine one day where I saw a photograph of an actress who was trying to fix lights up, you know, on a late rehearsal or something like that. There was a caption like that. And I said, you know, this is what I want to do. I want to be in rehearsals, you know, I want to be in theatre. And I was good at school, so I used to act in school a lot, and I used to get best actor and stuff like that in school, and I enjoyed that the most. So I said, hey, you know, let's do this and let's give it a shot. So I went and applied, and I got my admission there at the Trichur Drama School, you know, which was a part of the Calicut University, and hence started my theatre.
Were those early days at Trichur difficult?
It was fun, you know. Trichur School of Drama is like very bare minimal, you know. You've got a room to stay. It's in the jungle. You've got a very minimum infrastructure to actually work on.
But did your parents support you when you gave up wanting to join the family business and decided theatre was going to be your life?
They supported me, I mean, mentally, yes. I had decided not to take any financial support from them. So that was fine. And they were kind of okay. You know, my dad was very encouraging always. And he always used to tell me that, you know, if you're a barber, be the best one. So that was kind of okay.
But essentially, when you decided to go out into the world of theatre, you were going to do it alone. You were sort of branching out on your own.
Yeah, and all of them knew it as well as me that, you know, there was no money in this profession. So it was a very insecure profession then and as it is now.
Okay, you ended up at the National School of Drama, but you've often said that you never felt completely in tune with the place. What exactly was the problem?
You know, I talk about it more now, and this tune in the sense that, you know, there is, you know, one actually hopes that a drama school be run in a certain way, where, you know, one can be actually proud and actually, you know, be proud of, you know, this institution where you've actually learned so much and you've belonged to. It's just that, you know, it's just functioning like another government institution.
Too bureaucratic?
Yeah, too bureaucratic. It's with a lot of red tape, and it's just terrible. You know, it's no way for an artistic institution to function.
They had a lot of inhibiting rules and regulations, one of which you came up against when you did your first production of Merchant of Venice.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's again very bureaucratic, because when I did Merchant of Venice and I organized all these 3 years, you know, the first year, second year, and third year students to come and do this huge production of Merchant of Venice, which was, you know, which one knew would be very well received. So, you know, I went out and put posters and opened the show out to the public, which was illegal because, you know, you're not supposed to open out an in-house production for the public. So, but I did extra shows of it, and you know, you need to get fire permission and stuff like that if you're actually doing a
And they got
show.
offended because you never got permission.
Permissions. But that was all sorted out because, you know, it was very low-key. It was happening in the studio space. It seated 200 people. But all that was okay until a guy actually wrote a review of the play saying that how this great production has come about with just 1,000 rupees and the student and stuff like that. And the staff, one of the staff members really got offended.
Was it jealousy?
I don't know, you know, but it's like, I mean, it's just that it's not expected of you to be extraordinary, you know what I mean? They expect you to be in a particular format, like any other government institution, and you just need to be that mundane person.
So if a student shines,
yeah,
he's going to get into trouble.
I don't know, but then, you know, they called up this meeting and stuff like that to see that I was chucked out of the school. But thank God, there were other teachers within the faculty, the more sensible ones, who actually you know, stood up and said that, no, this boy should be in, and not only should this boy be in, his play should have additional public screenings.
Now, you've often said in your interviews that it's the experience of going to England and working with theatre companies there when you got a scholarship in 1984 that really changed your entire outlook to theatre. What happened?
You know, I was with this wonderful company there. I saw this wonderful company at rehearsal there called Theatre de Complicity. And this was a group of 8 to 9 people from all parts of Europe, you know. There were Germans, there were Swiss Germans, there were Spanish, there were French, there were Italians, and they were English, and there was this group that was together for I think 10 or 11 years or something like that. And they would do the smallest thing, like if the group would meet on the first day, and if they were to just hug each other, that would be so truthful, you know. Or if the director would just tell somebody to go and to get into a scene, and he would just explain some vague idea of the scene, and these actors would go out and come in, and that magic would happen in a, you know, in a few seconds of time, and which was like amazing. And you know, this was the sort of ideal theater one had dreamt of, and I was seeing this right in front of my eyes, and I said, oh my God, you know, we should try and start working up to, you know, trying to do something like this, but I'm far, far away.
Is that your ideal in a sense even now?
Oh, Karan, if I could actually get 10 people to work with, you know, to form a group of 10 people whom I really want to work with and who want to work with me, and we go into, you know, some quiet corner of this country and just work there for 10, 15 years, you know, coming up with a production every year or 2 productions every year, and if that can happen, oh, that's bliss. You know,
how close have you got to achieving this idea?
Oh, it's very, very far. Unfortunately, in our country, there's absolutely no scope for this, because our cultural policies don't function this way. Nobody gives 2 hoots about, you know, theater and who wants to do theater and stuff like that. It's hardly there in the agenda. So it's kind of
So somewhere deep within, you remain disheartened and disappointed? You have dreams, but the system won't let you realize them?
So I don't know, but I haven't given up on my dreams as yet, you know. I try and realize my dreams project by project.
One of the ones that you're going to realize, I believe in February, is Much Ado About Nautanki. It sounds like a satire, is it?
It's not a satire. It's like a fun play. It's about the version of these Indians, you know, the Spice Girls in India, a group of 5, all-girl band, wanting to collaborate and wanting to do something very, you know, desi, which is like a fusion, and they get in touch with a Nautanki company from UP. So what happens when these 2 classes actually mix together in creating this piece of, you know, whatever, performance, you know, over this period of 5, 6 days or 10 days, and what actually happens with their relationships, what happens with their class, and what happens, you know, in this
Sounds
profession.
wonderful, Royston. Shakespeare, Spice Girls and Nautanki. Good luck. That's one play that I certainly look forward to seeing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karan.